So let me know if these videos are helpful. If they're not, then I'll quit doing them. If they are, then I can keep going. Otherwise, this may be the last of the series. Let me know if there are specific topics that we can cover that will be helpful to you. And so this is the third video in a writing workshop series, and I'm hoping that this is not going to make you a great writer, but maybe get you over some of the anxiety and the humps that often come with being assigned a writing project when you maybe don't even know what that means. So today I want to talk about citations. That's a big part of pretty much any project. Your instructor may ask you to follow some format and request that you provide some number of outside sources and citations and that sort of thing. And the citations are important, or your reference page or your bibliography or whatever you want to call it. That's important because it's often something that your instructors go to first for your grade. That is, when they have a room full of 40 students and they've each submitted a 3-page paper, they're not going to read all of that. That's 3 times 40 pages. They're not going to read all of that. Often they are looking for the gradable items in that paper. Does it look to be formatted properly? Can I see any obvious errors in grammar and punctuation? And one of the big things that they look for is your citations and your references. That's an objective that they can skip to down at the end and see if that looks to be correct. And if yes, then they may move on. If no, then they may mark off and try to find some other things to mark off for. So, references and citations are important to get correct for that reason, but also because we don't want to take credit for someone else's work. And so that leads us into sort of our first topic here is, what is plagiarism? You've heard that term before. You can Google what is plagiarism and probably get a good answer for that. But my experience with plagiarism and citations is really that students tend to say things in their work that may be absolutely true. The problem is that you can't just say things because you know that they are true. Don't make assumptions on what is common knowledge. So, if I were to make a statement in my paper, let's just skip down here and we'll say something. If I were to say everybody body loves hamburgers, well, that's not necessarily true. I can't say that in my paper because I haven't talked to everybody. And so I need to change this sentence to be something that makes a little more sense. I can't say everybody loves hamburgers because I haven't spoken with everybody. And I can't find any research where somebody else talked to everybody and confirmed that they love hamburgers. What I can say is that lots of us, or lots of people love hamburgers. Or people, spell check. Lots of people love hamburgers, but even that sentence probably needs to be cited. What would give this sentence even more value and more meaning is if I could say something like, Americans consume 300 million hamburgers per year. Now, that's a sentence that's interesting to read because I've quantified the issue. 300 million, that's a lot of hamburgers. Americans consume 300 million hamburgers per year. Well, that sounds great, but I really can't say this either without a citation because I have no idea if that's correct or not. How many hamburgers do we consume a year? So I want to keep this sentence because it's interesting and there's a quantified value in there. 300 million is a lot of hamburgers. I want to keep this sentence or something very close to it, but to do that, I need to be able to validate. I need to cite this sentence somehow. So what I can do is just do a Google search. Let's just go to Google and say, how many hamburgers? And then I get even some interesting, how many hamburgers and hot dogs per American per year? So with just a quick Google search, I can look and see that, oh, I misspelled something. Americans eat nearly 50 billion burgers. So that's even more than I was saying before. Americans eat 50 billion burgers a year. That's 3 burgers a week. That really is a lot. So I can say something if I go back. I can't just copy. I know we may be tempted just to copy and paste this, but that's straight plagiarism. We didn't say that. I need to say that in my own words. So I'm going to go to this link. This is from Huffington Post, which is a news outlet, but at least I don't want to say I got it from Google. I want to say that I got it from some valid news source. And I can see here they make the statement, we eat 50 billion, and if I dig a little bit deeper, I can see that this is actually, what is this? No, go away. You see where they've actually cited these things themselves. Huffington Post did not do this research. They're giving you the link where you can click and find the research. So even Huffington Post can't get away with saying this. So what I can do in my paper is I'm going to go here and I'm going to take this all out because I got something even better now. I'm going to say the average American eats 3 hamburgers per week. So I've got my sentence. I like that. It's quantified. 3 hamburgers a week. That's a lot of hamburgers for the average person. That's certainly more than I eat. But I need to cite this. I need to give credit to the people who discovered this. Somebody did this research, and I really don't care. I just need to make sure I stay out of trouble and give them the proper citation. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to say this is from Huffington Post. And this article was from 2013. So I'm going to copy this link and I'm going to look here. This is this can go away. So back to my page, I'm going to say I'm going to use APA format. I'll show you in a second about digging up other formats. APA I pretty well know by heart, and so that's what I'm going to lean on for these videos. So I'll say Huffington 2013. And so that goes inside the period there. See, the period is actually on the outside there. Huffington 2013. The average American eats 3 hamburgers per week. Huffington 2013. Now, as a side note, the number 3 here, if it's less than 10, the numbers 1 through 10, you write out the number there. You would never say 3. If it's less than 10, you write out the number. Now, if it was 33, you wouldn't want that. You would put 33 because it's more than 10. and that's a really lot of hamburgers, but it's just 3, but not the number 3, the word 3. So this is half of my citation. I've got, this is called the in-text citation, and that's done, Huffington 2013. But there's a little bit more to it. I have to include on my reference page. Remember, we talked about when you're getting organized, you have to, usually there's a whole separate page for your references. And so I'm going to go down here and I'm going to start a new page. And the best way to do that is go to Insert in Blank Page. And so I have here a references page, references, and this is usually centered and bold. And then you come down here, and just for now, I'm going to paste that link. Remember, I copied it earlier. I'm going to say Huffington 2013. And so anybody that cares about reading that whole article, say, well, this guy, he found an interesting article on hamburgers. It's at Huffington 13. Let me go. And they can see that the full article is available here. So you can't just make stuff up. And occasionally your teachers will click these links to make sure it actually is a reference and not just something you made up. So don't try to get away with just making up data. That's going to come back to bite you if you try. So then we would start our paper, and if my goal is to use 3 outside sources, then I've already used 1. I'm a huge fan of starting papers with some type of statement like this, where there's some staggering statistic that's really interesting. And the average American eats 3 hamburgers per week. And then I might say, all that beef, beef? How do you spell beef? Beef. All that beef takes a lot of cows. And then I could tell, talk about, if my paper is about hamburgers and cows and farm management or something like that, then I could dig into that issue a little more with even more statistics. Maybe some more statistics from this original article, which I would cite every time I used it. I could put this at every time I cite something from this article, I would put this in-text citation there. But you only put this piece here 1 time. And so you would end up with a list of these references. And this needs to be alphabetized, and be sure to use proper formatting for this piece, for the format that you're using. And the best way to do that, if we go back and look at my list up here, we talked about citations, what they are. We know what they are now and why. The why is, a lot of times your instructors are grading on this, and we don't want to get accused of plagiarism. We don't want to just copy and paste. We don't want to say things that we don't know are true. Always give credit where credit is due. And here's the other thing about this in-text citation. This little piece right here required 0 brain power from me. I did not have to do this research. I didn't have to think of it. I just found it, rephrased it a bit, and put it in my own words and gave this person credit. And I got this space in my paper. That's 2 words taken up right there that were free, basically. So it's super helpful to do your citations properly. It will save you drama in the long run. So getting help. What if I don't know, if I'm not using APA, or I know this is not correct? So how do I do APA citations? Well, that is where Google is really helpful. If you go to Google, do a search for APA citations, you get all sorts of articles and things that are maybe helpful, but I like to skip over to these images where they just give me a picture, or what is it supposed to look like. And here's one that actually includes a website. And so I can find one that I think I can follow and make mine look like that. And you see it has an indent here, and these all have to be alphabetized. But don't stress over figuring out or memorizing how to do how to do these references. Where does the date go, and where does the author go, and where does the title, and is it italicized, and that sort of thing. Now, there are some online tools that will actually, you plug in the URL, citation builder. Let's do APA, citation builder, citation machine. I've not tried this before, so we'll see how it goes. Citations from website. What if I just plug in my URL? By Julie Thompson, and if I select this, here's what we found. And if I click through all of this, create citation, look at that. That looks legit. So Julie Thompson in 2013, we knew that. Retrieved October 5th, that's today, from Huffington. There's my original link, and so I'm going to use this instead of that thing that I made. I don't want to say Huffington 2013. I want to say Thompson Julie, but I know that APA citations, you have to indent that second line, and so I'm just going to go and on this thing right here, if you don't know, this bottom thing controls the bottom indent, which I want to stay, and the top one controls that top line, so I want that to go back where it was. All right, so that was actually Thompson 2013, so I'm going to change this, and anytime I reference that article, I'm going to give Julie Thompson credit for it. And so that's how it works, and that's a proper citation. And you go through and you do several of those. Takes many cows. You do several of those, and you read it over and over again, and you proof and you double check, and that's how it goes. So moving on, getting help. I again am a huge fan of using these links and things. Remember, every citation is going to have a piece that goes in the text. Here's some good examples. These go in the text, and then there's always a corresponding piece that goes at the end. This is a list of references, but every one of these would have a corresponding piece that went in the text. Do not skip that step. Citations always have two pieces. One will go in the text and one goes in your references page. Let's see what else was on the list. Getting organized. The only piece of advice I might have here beyond what we already talked about with getting organized, the only thing that you may consider doing, I don't know if you've noticed, I'm doing a lot of scrolling to get, I've got this, and I've got my references, and it's really not such a big deal because my whole paper is only 2 pages right now. But I've written papers that are hundreds of pages long, and so if you're in the text somewhere and you need to get to your references, it's a whole lot of scrolling, and we always know the references are at the end, but how do I get back to where I was? It's somewhere in the middle. So what I really recommend doing, and this may be helpful even for a paper that's only a couple of pages, is to create a separate references page. So these are going to be my references for the document that I'm currently working on, and hopefully what I'm going to do is go to this. Actually, I just want all of this. Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste. And so now what I can do is take this out. So now I have my paper that I'm working on, and if I go down here, I got my references. and I can switch back and forth pretty quickly without messing the two of them up. And I can look at these references, and when I get them all in here, I alphabetize them, or alphabetize as you go. If you have lots of references, then you can just insert them as they come up. And then when you're done, you would go and copy all of this, your references, and paste them at the end of your real document. Please ignore my email that is coming in as I'm working. So I hope that is helpful. If there are any questions, please reach out to me and let me know. Again, let me know if these videos are helpful. If yes, then I will try to continue doing them. If no, then then I won't. So hope that was helpful. Have a great day.